All right, let's talk about digital money. It's supposed to be this huge revolution, right? But, underneath all that hype, there's this one really fundamental question that most cryptocurrencies kind of stumble on. It's a question we should all be asking ourselves.
I mean, really think about this for a second. Is your financial history, is it anyone else's business? Do you really want every single cup of coffee you've bought, every bill you've paid, every dollar you've received, just out there like an open book for the whole world to scroll through? Yeah, probably not. And yet, that's exactly how a lot of the big-name cryptos actually work.
So, to get why this happens, you have to look at the heart of currencies like Bitcoin. It's this thing called the public ledger, or the blockchain. And look, it's actually a brilliant idea for security, right? Everyone can see everything, so it's really hard to cheat the system. But, and this is a big but, that total transparency comes with a massive, massive drawback. Yeah, that drawback is the privacy problem. Because security is one thing, but having your whole financial life just laid bare for anyone to see, that's a whole other can of worms. And that exact problem is why Monero was created. It was literally built from the ground up to solve this.
You see, Monero's whole reason for being is to be truly private and untraceable digital cash. And it tackles this privacy puzzle using three really clever cryptographic tools. So let's dive in and break down how it all works piece by piece. Okay, first piece of the puzzle, hiding the person who's getting the money. How do you actually send someone crypto without their address being blasted all over the public ledger for absolutely everyone to see? How does that work?
Well, the answer is this amazing piece of tech called stealth addresses. Here's the deal. Instead of sending money straight to, let's say, Bob's main public address, Monero generates a completely new one-time use address for every single transaction. It's brilliant. It's kind of like using a burner phone for just one conversation. So let's walk through it. Say Alice wants to pay Bob. She takes Bob's public address, you can think of that as his main mailbox, and she uses some cryptographic magic with a random number to create a brand new single-use address. That's the address the Monero gets sent to, and that's what goes on the public ledger. Now, to the outside world, it just looks like a random jumble of letters and numbers. But Bob, using his private key, which is like his secret password, he can scan the blockchain, and his wallet automatically recognizes, hey, that one's for me. And only he can access those funds.
A really good way to picture this is like a secret P.O. box. Bob's main public address is kind of like the main post office building, but every single payment he receives gets delivered to a brand new, unique P.O. box that only he has the key for. It's that simple. And boom, just like that, the first piece of our privacy puzzle is in place.
Okay, so the receiver is hidden. That's great. But what about the other side of the coin, the sender? How do you prove you actually own the money you're trying to spend without telling the whole world who you are?
This is where Monero uses something called a ring signature. And honestly, this is just a brilliant cryptographic trick. Instead of just one person signing off on a transaction, you create a signature that looks like it could have come from a whole group of people, a ring of possible signers, all mixed together.
Here's the analogy for this one. Imagine a bunch of people standing in a circle. One of them signs a check and puts it in a deposit box. Now you can verify that the signature is valid and that it came from someone in that circle, but you have absolutely no way of knowing which person it was. You get total verification without any identification. It's hiding in a crowd, but with cryptography. And the math behind it is rock solid. It guarantees that, yep, an observer can be 100% sure the signature came from a legitimate person in that group, but it is cryptographically impossible to figure out exactly which one. So this all boils down to three really key properties. First, you get signer ambiguity. That's the fancy term for hiding the real sender in a crowd of decoys. Second, it's unforgeable. No one can just fake your signature and steal your money. And third, there's this clever little thing called a key image that prevents anyone from double spending their Monero, all while keeping the sender's identity a secret. And there you have it. Puzzle piece number 2 is locked in. All right, so we've hidden the sender and we've hidden the receiver. We're almost there, but there is one last absolutely critical piece of the puzzle left, the amount. I mean, what's the point of hiding who's in the transaction if everyone can still see that $100 million just moved? And when you put them side by side, the difference is just, well, it's night and day, isn't it? With most cryptos, it's all right there in black and white. But with Monero, it's all question marks. The sender, the receiver, and the amount are all completely hidden. So how do they do this? Monero uses another cryptographic tool called Pedersen commitments. The best way to think about this is like putting the transaction amount inside a locked digital safe. You can't see the number inside. But, and this is the magic part, the safe is built in a way that lets the network verify that the math adds up. They can prove that the money going in equals the money going out, all without ever having to open the safe and see the amount. Okay, but wait a second. This brings up a pretty obvious and really important question. If all the amounts are hidden, what's to stop someone from just creating money out of thin air? Creating a transaction where they spend 1 Monero but secretly give themselves 1,000 Monero on the other side. How do you stop counterfeiting when everything is invisible?
The solution is another genius bit of crypto called a range proof. It's basically an extra piece of math that's attached to every hidden amount. And all it does is prove one simple thing, that the number inside that locked safe is greater than 0. That's it. That simple proof makes it mathematically impossible to create money from nothing. It keeps the currency sound while keeping the amounts private. And just like that, puzzle piece number 3 is solved.
So there we have it. We've got all 3 pieces of the puzzle. Let's put them all together and see the final picture. It really all comes down to these 3 pillars of privacy. You've got stealth addresses to hide the receiver, you have ring signatures to hide the sender, and you have confidential transactions to hide the amount. Each one is a crucial technology that tackles one specific part of the privacy problem. And the key thing to remember here is that by combining all 3 of these powerful tools, Monero makes privacy the default. It's not some setting you have to turn on. It's not an optional feature. It is just baked into the very core of how the network works. Your transactions are secure, they're verifiable, but all the crucial details, they just stay private. And that brings us to the big final question, doesn't it? In a world that is becoming more digital by the second, what does it actually mean to have a form of digital money that acts like real physical cash? Something that's private, that's untraceable, that's yours. It's a huge question, and it really gets you thinking about the future of money, of business, and maybe even our own personal freedom.